Welcome everyone, I'm Mike O'Neill with Integrated Alliances, and we're going to talk about developing a social media strategy around LinkedIn. My company Integrated Alliances does consulting and training primarily for corporations and small businesses. We also work with executives at those firms to help them get on track as well. Ultimately, we provide LinkedIn, social media, and other related services and training for sales organizations. That's the inside sales group, the outside sales group, and even the channel sales folks. So I've got a lot of credentials that come from the industry. Being in it a long time, things sort of rack up. A lot of folks and speakers out here got a lot of credentials. These are mine, and the social media power influencers is one that's pretty important because it's done by peers. There's a mechanical process. You can't game it. You can't just buy your way on to the top 50 list like you can in some other environments where you can stack the numbers. I've had 30,000 connections for over 4 years. I've deleted 15,000 people from my network. So my network has gotten better and better and better, in addition to being large, by being refined and refined and refined. Integrated Alliances, the company's been around as long as LinkedIn. We both started in 2003. I joined LinkedIn in early 2004, and I've been training and coaching that long. The agenda today is to discuss, first of all, why to start with LinkedIn. And then we're going to talk about the components that go with it, the pieces and parts you're going to have to focus on. Now, how to add the other platforms is a significant little piece because we're going to be leveraging things and focusing in a certain direction, in a certain order in doing things. Because if you do things 1, 2, 3, they go better than 1, 3, 2. If you understand what I mean. Social media strategy around LinkedIn. Let's dive in. No strategy at all means that you're going to have brand gaps. You look different over here. You say different things over there. The priorities from 2 years ago are not the priorities today, but no one's been back there to change it. Ultimately, you're wasting resources without a strategy. You're doing too many things too many times. It's very similar to thinking about, am I going to use a screwdriver or a drill? Now, it brings with it increased risk. If your employees don't know what's right and wrong, you're going to have things happen. We'll actually discuss what some of those things that might happen are with some nice big brands. Ultimately, though, you're missing out on sales without a strategy across your platforms. And when you center around LinkedIn and you're not looking good, you're really missing strategies there. You're really missing opportunities there because LinkedIn is trusted. And in a trusted environment, if you don't look trustworthy, well, you'll understand what we mean. On the flip side, a good strategy brings it all together. It leverages your resources instead of wasting them. It even reduces workloads of people, your workload and all the folks who have to chip in to be part of this. If everyone can do it with a little less work, you're going to get a lot more buy-in, and ultimately you're going to be boosting the bottom line. Sales go up with a good strategy. People seek you out instead of someone else. When you've got a phone number in the places where people are looking and other people don't, now you get the idea. An integrated presence means across all platforms. Now I'm saying all, and notice we're stopping at 5. These are the 5 big boys and where we're going to focus our attention in this individual program here. These platforms here create sort of like a band. You've got guitars, bass, and drums, and keyboards, and even horns in this environment. A brand, according to Wikipedia, I like to point out one word. It says distinct. And distinct is about standing out. If everyone has the same thing going on, why does one person get picked? Voice over IP providers. What's the difference between them all? Not very much. But some of them have a brand that just pulls you in. Some of them have a reputation that pulls you in. Some of them have great marketing that pull you in. Which is it for you? The well-known brands know this really well. They've got integrated platform, integrated social media, integrated everywhere you go. So the Ford logo always looks like this. Oracle's always like this. There's only one Nike swipe. Do you get it? Your own brand's a little different, a little bit different. In today's modern world, you need to have the domain that goes with your brand. And if IBM, for example, was thinking, and they were thinking, they came up with a great strategy across their platforms. And guess what? Independent business marketers was left out. But what if it had been reversed? What if independent business marketers was really thinking? They had a really sharpie guy there a while ago. And he had gotten the domains for that company. Well, guess what? I don't know that IBM would have a really strong suit to try to go pull that back from them, because independent business marketers is a legitimate company with those letters. So be thinking quickly, like when Facebook lets you put your own name in, your own URL in Facebook. I got it right away because guess what? MikeO'Neill.com got taken in the domain world. I got bid over there. I lost the domain that I really wanted because I waited a little bit too long. It's important to put someone behind the wheel, and that someone is usually someone who's in the intersection of sales and marketing. It's an executive who's got a head to choke themselves if their head doesn't get choked. It's the intermediate spot that brings it all together. If you've got sales over there and marketing over here, you're not in an integrated environment. Now, you need navigators. You need a driver, someone in charge, and they've got a whole lot of navigation help them get through the environment. So the resources that are required come down to essentially this. You got fuel in the form of money, budget. And then you've got people's time. Now, budget and time kind of go together. So when you've got dotted line relationships, in a lot of these environments you do, across platforms, across different business units, you've got people that are part of a team, and that team needs to roll up still. So there's still one head to choke. Allow enough time and money to make the program work from the get-go, or you're going to get halfway down, and you're going to look just like you were, half done, half in, half out. In the B2B world here, it's really simple. The priorities start with LinkedIn, and then we put these other platforms into play. Now, sometimes we're going to say start with LinkedIn, and maybe we're going to really end with LinkedIn because that's the masterpiece here. There's times where you want to go first this way, other times where you want to go first with Facebook instead of Twitter or so, because the path there is more beaten. So getting ready involves, first of all, getting your company ready. You've got your company page and your company logos and your company text and all of these pieces that come into play. You got to get the company ready, and the marketing group and the management group have got to be part of this getting ready. They're not part of the mainstream. No, they're part of getting ready. We got to have these folks fully on board and fully engaged before we step out to the masses and say, hey team, hey, I need your involvement out here in social media, guys. If you don't look at yourself, you are not going to get buy-in from the others. So getting them on board really means you've got your internal team, the folks that you can control. They've got quotas. You can create terms of service and conditions of employment. You can tell them yes and no and do this and do that, or you'll find someone else who will. It's an employment thing. Well, the other part has to do with your channel partners. Now, you can't do the same thing there. You can't use the stick. You got to use the carrot with channel partners. They'll sell someone else's product if they don't like your style. They'll find something else to represent. They'll just recommend someone other than you. Ultimately, we come down to this. There are natural leaders in all of these places that we want to court. And LinkedIn can help you find them, of course. This is a LinkedIn program, LinkedIn-centric. We'll go to LinkedIn and find out who our natural leaders are. Do you think that's going to be hard? Do you think when you look at your employees in a list out there, someone's going to stand out and say, wow, that guy's got 500 plus connections, he's got a big header and a beautiful picture, and wow, he's involved. There's a potential for your natural leader. And you're going to need multiples of them in multiple departments. Someone over in abrasives division at 3M they need leaders over there, and the Post-it notes division at 3M over here. Guess what? They need leaders too. They're there. We just want to court them. So we've developed a methodology, and it's been 10 years in the process of refining this methodology. It starts here. You build your profiles and your pages, get spiffing. This is the getting ready part, because once we do, we can go out and build our network and get our followers going. And our network and followers are folks that we're going to engage and market to. We've got to build it, and then we've got a little action pack program out here that ultimately involves us selling and closing deals. So let's look at that one more time. Get it right. Get our profiles and our pages up and going. Get ready for action. We're ready to play the game. That's pregame. Now we're in the game. Your network and your followers are the folks that we're going to reach out to once again and engage and market to these people. Ultimately, we're selling and closing deals. Now, focus is a really important part of the program here today. There is so much out there, so many shiny objects. We're going to start, when we do this, with text. We're going to define what our words are, and we're going to go with the website principle of, if there's words on the website we can kind of start with. Next, we're going to do our visuals, and I'm going to actually dive kind of deep into visuals here because, no one's talking about visuals. Everyone's talking about keywords and all that kind of stuff. We've got earth-shattering stuff here about visuals. Now, didn't I say we're going to build it and then we're going to build our network, right? This fits that methodology here. Building our network involves putting the right people out there and then engaging them in the right activities. And those activities nowadays very much involve content. What are we going to put in front of people? Content's the carrot. No stick out here in the social media space. It's all carrot, carrot, carrot. So these are the areas we're going to focus on, and I'm going to take you through a nice systematic ride through it. Are you ready? Well, our text is where we start. Didn't I say we'd start there? So lorem ipsum, does anyone know what that is? Lorem ipsum, this is Latin. So you see it as placeholder, and the idea of placeholder text is one where you put something up and then you refine it. A lot of people will create their company page, for example, put some placeholder text up there, and then it stays. No one ever goes back. It was good enough. I got too busy. So don't let that placeholder text concept happen for you. It happens all the time by really big, important companies. It isn't just something that happens with individuals who are just too busy. Now, we've written a book, Rock the World with LinkedIn here, Rock the World with Your Online Presence. And this book will help you get your profile spiffed up with some nice words. Visuals are the second part of the equation here. Visuals, for example, on profiles. You've seen that? You've got visuals in the form of a company page. And there's visuals in the process of putting content out there, and it needs something spiffy to make it look good too. Guess what? People really love pictures in content. Now, if we've got all this beautiful stuff, how are we going to go out and get the people out there to find it and follow it and pay attention to what we have? And that's a matter of dripping this content out into our network. So building your network is one of an individual case. Individuals have to build their own networks. It's part of the training program that we do, is showing people how to build their network with nice targeted people, lots of nice buyers out there, and recommenders, people who love you. Content is something you hear over and over and over. In fact, this word is almost becoming like user-friendly was in the old days. But we are essentially using a system of magnetism to pull people in with stuff that they like our stuff better than other people's stuff. The things that we're writing about strike really true to the problems that the people we're sending to are having. So I love content that solves a problem I have. So think about that. What problems are you having? What problems are your clients having? And how can you drip content out to them that's very meaningful to them, that they'll tell other people about it. They'll pass it around the office. Let's talk about the text process for just a little bit. Text and words are all associated in the social media space here with search engine optimization, SEO. And that means people can find you because you've got the words that they're looking for, the words that represent the things that they're looking for. Okay? That's the first part about the whole text part. The second part really though, and this is missed all the time by people, is this layout process. Newspapers know it, magazines know it. They leave space for the words to kind of blend out into something nice. They pop out. So don't be the victim of word sabotage where you're just putting words and words and words in big fat paragraphs. Here's my advice. Remember, you're modifying things now for a different reason. You're putting things in for two reasons. One of them is, your desktop machine, desktop machine. On the other hand, you've got mobile devices, and that's where the design issues and the white space and the text layout really come into play. On a computer, a big paragraph is a big page on a laptop. A single sentence can be a paragraph. Everything is about 2.5 times as large on a handheld. So keep that in mind when you're designing your white space issues, okay? Now, locations where things go, well, it's pretty simple. People have profiles, and this information, this text, this stuff that marketing's helped produce needs to go here, here to here in a profile. There's a way to ask your employees to do that to encourage them and coach them through the process. And we've got that pretty nailed. The other part is your company pages. And I'm going to say pages because you have a main company page, and then there are these pages called showcase pages. So you're pretty much unlimited amount of places to put this text. And the content pieces that go with it, well, guess what? Content can go in the form of tweet kind of material and blog kind of material with pictures and text that go, guess what? Employees' profiles, management and marketing profiles, and then on the corporate pages is status updates with nice pictures and all that they can click on while you're doing the text and pictures in these content places. Well, the writing process is one where you really should start writing for LinkedIn first. It's the most wordy of the programs. It's the one that's most SEO-ish. And then from there, you'll add it into the other platforms. The other platforms, you can copy and paste to a Word file, new Word file, edit it down to the smaller spaces, the more appropriate places on Facebook, G+, and the other platforms. Okay? So what you might find is you started with 2,000 characters over here, and guess what? Facebook only allows 1,000, so you're going to shrink it down there. You might find Google Plus has 200, so now you're in the edit down mode instead of the add more mode, and that's why we start with LinkedIn. The next step in our journey here is to discuss visuals, and visuals bring money in the door. The next part that we want to discuss is visuals. Visuals is where you can really stand out. It's not a matter of fitting in like it is with words so much. It's a matter of standing out. And the reason visuals matter is they're a differentiator. They're what make you different from all the other people. You're fully in control. Anyone can use the same words and language out there. You can copy, paste. But in visuals, you can't. They're totally unique to you. They attract people, and if you do it right, it converts them to clickers, to callers, to listeners, to followers, to customers. And the visuals really have to go with the words. They go back. The visuals attract them in, and the words tell them where to call. But most websites now, ours included, have a phone number in the header of the website. Why do you think that is? So people have to scroll down if they're interested, they're quickly, here's my phone number, and guess what? Someone else's phone number might have been harder to find. So the combination of the visuals, even having text in the visuals, remember, really powerful. It totally boosts your credibility when someone comes and sees a nice visual impact, a visual version of you. They had something in their mind when they were coming. There's some reason that they're looking for you or looking for something like you. There's something in their mind. And when they come to your site, to your LinkedIn environment or any of your other environments here, and they see something that supports what they're looking for, that totally boosts your credibility, and it puts you on that part of the platform here where you're actually going into pieces of a bigger picture. Remember, your credibility is one thing, attracting people is another, but when they go over here and see it, and they go over here and see it, it really picks up because they've seen it reinforced and reinforced and reinforced. There's a lot of gears that go on to make this happen. Okay, a lot of things behind the scene mechanically to do this. I can only share so much with you, but let's dive down just a little bit and discuss where that comes into play. The visual design process actually works a little bit in reverse. It starts with Facebook, then it moves into the other environments, including LinkedIn, when we get done at the end. You start with what's more difficult, work on the things that are less difficult later. This flow will eliminate a lot of this repetitive stuff and reduce your workload if you do things in these orders. Now, things do change. Things do change. In fact, things are changing right now as we speak. This is mid-April, and Twitter is launching a whole new design just right now. So, and the whole new design is really one that has a big issues for mobile and desktop. The new Twitter design has got huge issues for making sure that things look good on Android and iPhone and up on the web. The visual design process is a really interesting one, and we've got some really unique things for you to consider here. Here I'm showing you what a template looks like and design objects on top. These objects on top are pieces. We've got maybe a dozen or so of these types of design objects we're going to create. And we're going to drag and drop them down into a canvas. And the canvas we're going to put them on has got a few little things along the way to map around. The pothole environment is one that's just like laying over a template. Let me show you what I mean. So in Facebook, on the left here, you'll notice that there's a bunch of squares and words. That's the compounded view of your graphic that goes into Facebook. You have a header graphic on Facebook, and it's got these things that are going to get laid down in front of it. And those things laid down in front of it can make things behind it look pretty funky if you don't know to map around them. So in this environment, for example, we take our design objects and move them in around the spaces that are there so that it's not getting cut off or partly clipped. That's even worse. Yeah, I got the first 6 digits of your phone number and then it got cut off. That's the kind of thing that you want to avoid. So this is Facebook. It's quite a bit complex. It's probably the toughest there is, and that's why we tell you to start with Facebook. LinkedIn, on the other hand, a little bit simpler. A little bit. This is a showcase page, which is the most difficult of all of the LinkedIn environments to map around. But you see the big amount of space you get to work here with here? Oh my gosh, my graphic designer just loves showcase pages. Doesn't like the Google Plus stuff so much, doesn't like Facebook, doesn't even like Twitter so much, but loves doing LinkedIn stuff because it's very responsive. LinkedIn does a very good job of making sure one thing looks good in one place and other places it looks fine just as well. But these areas on the bottom involve little cutouts that you could point to it, say, hey, follow here, big arrow pointing to the follow button, but don't put anything behind it or over it. Biggest single part you're going to deal with is mobile. In this environment here, you can see our first attempt on Google Plus here to get our header working across platforms. It didn't go so well the first time. In fact, it didn't go so well the second time. Took about 5 times to get it designed just right, as you see on the right here, because you've got to test, you got to do screenshots. You'll take your iPhone, you go ka-ching, and send it to the graphics person. You'll take your Android and go ka-ching over here with the print screen and send it off there. They'll make a few tweaks, and guess what? Something else will happen over here. So the net of it is allow about as much time for testing as you do for design. Are you in? Are you in? What do I mean by are you in? Well, are you really involved in LinkedIn at a corporate level? Or are you involved as an individual? Or are you not involved at all? It starts with the org chart. So in your org chart, you've got your users out here, and somebody can go over to, the LinkedIn company page, click the See All button here, and map the employees on the left to the company page on the right. See who's, first of all, on the company page. Important part, who's there now? You probably got a lot of employees that are on LinkedIn, but they're not showing up here. For some reason, they didn't get there, or they've been on LinkedIn long enough. They've been on LinkedIn longer than company pages existed, perhaps. What those folks need to do to show up here is to go into their profiles, edit them, okay, into it, edit, go down to the job, go backspace over InsideSales.com here and start typing InsideSales.com again. And guess what happens? There's a little drop-down list will appear, and you can kind of click from the list, and guess what? Tomorrow, you're showing up on the company page. Now, individuals have to do this for themselves. Management can't do it for them. So once again, there's the carrot principle for some and the stick principle for others. If your employees are not showing up here, you've got something to fix. It's just a training issue. And it's very easy to solve. What I described there won't take them more than 2 or 3 minutes, tops. And you're probably, when they're going to go there and do that, going to do some other things while they're there. There are challenges, significant challenges, and the first one has to do with adoption. Complacency. Sales reps do what they're used to doing. They get into habits, and they're not always great habits, although habits can be changed. We want to create routines around these habits, because as soon as you start nailing deals out here on LinkedIn, it gets kind of addicting. Along the way, though, there's shiny objects. And that means people are going to see stuff out here, and they go, wow, that's really neat. Coca Sexton's 10 tips. Well, guess those 10 tips are great. I'm going to go implement them now. Okay, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to go implement them now. And in doing that, I found a great little blog post over here. And I signed up for something there, and it came in over here, and now I'm doing this and that, and it's noon now. Those are shiny objects. So having a routine and a time of day principle really matters a lot in the LinkedIn space when you're trying to get your team to incorporate something to not take too much time, but also not take them into la-la land where they're off now on Facebook likes and all of that. LinkedIn's a little easier to keep the team in on than some of the others, but still, these challenges here, adoption, got to get them to go in the first place, and then once they do get going, having them not be chasing down rabbit holes. Many of the things I'm talking about here touch on what would be called a social media policy. So this is like a terms of employment kind of document. Employees very often will have to sign something as if they were signing starting the company again, sign these papers. I need you to sign here, 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 and here. And by the way, here's our social media policy. It goes with the non-harassment policy or whatever other policies there might be. It says what's good, what's not. It also tell you what the consequences are should you knowingly cross boundaries here. Also, there's the incentive part for doing good things. It's not just solving problems that we're having, but wow, you see the green thumb says, hey, what can we do here, right? Well, the policy might say that we have a policy of inclusion, a policy internally of getting things out through our channels. Let me explain. If your boss says we're having this corporate event next month, will you tell your customers and partners about it, you might send them an email. In fact, there's an email to probably send on off to them. You're basically inviting them through traditional means. It's no different to have that policy say, you know what, and you might be asked to use your personal LinkedIn profile to do corporate marketing. Essentially, you're talking about sending a status update out or sending messages out to your customers and partners out there that something's going on. It's not any different than an email environment, other than it specifically has to be done by you, logged in by you. And a lot of those emailing environments can be done by third parties. And that's the big rub. You have to get them to do something, log in out there and do something that's coming from them, not from the company. And there'll be a little bit of pushback on that sometimes, but not by your star players. Your star players are going to go, got it, I got deals already because of LinkedIn. I'm going to go do this some more. This is marketing efforts we're talking about. If your sales team isn't supporting marketing efforts, well, you don't have the right incentives in place. And a social media policy can be where those incentives come into play. Because there have been issues. Ford Motor Company, they're fine and clean over here, but Chrysler, another story. Twitter folks over at Ford really know their stuff. They got Scott and Monty in charge over there. Chrysler does not. Had a little trouble. And you know what? Other folks did too. Domino's had a little trouble out there. They probably didn't have a social media policy that says don't shoot ugly videos and tell people you're doing ugly stuff to their food. They do now. And I'll bet you United Airlines has got a little bit more social media policy going on too after smashing guitars and being caught on video right from the plane. People do stupid things if you don't tell them not to do stupid things. It can be pretty easy if you just say no ahead of time to head them off. All of these, by the way, are not on LinkedIn. These aren't LinkedIn faux pas, but this is an integrated social media strategy. And you've got to factor in that the problems over there can be precipitated over here. Adding Twitter is the next step. After we've got LinkedIn, the next step is in the Twitter space, because Twitter goes into the business personal space. And it's one where individuals and companies both have the same kind of accounts. In the Twitter world, account ownership is universal. Okay? It isn't that companies own this and people own that. An account is just an account. Individuals have the same kind of accounts as corporations do. Okay? It's the same process to tweet as a company as it is to tweet as a person. And that's not the way LinkedIn is. To provide status updates as a company, you're a manager of the company page. You've got certain credentials. Only certain people can do that stuff on behalf of the company. But in the Twitter world, sky's the limit. And in the Twitter world, also, you've got a lot of tools that automate a lot of things that really accelerate the rise or the decline of anything. So most important, in the Twitter world, you have backgrounds and you have headers. And didn't I say this is going away? This is how it is right now on mid-April. Okay? So beyond that, you would use your Twitter, for example, to promote maybe an event. So corporate people, LinkedIn folks, can use Twitter to drive traffic to events and to integrate with registration links and find more information. This is an event that is a tweet that's promoting an event that was sent out through a whole series. Mike O'Neill Rock's account, it went through the IA social media account, it went through all of our Twitter accounts, and some of them were retweeting others. So you have this whole little, I'm telling you about something over there. It must be recommended if it's got an RT in front of it. Because in the Twitter world, when you retweet something, an RT it's called, you're recommending it. You're saying, check this out, folks. So if you have multiple Twitter accounts, you can retweet your own stuff. You can boost it without having to go outside. Of course, the outside folks are boosting it for you as well. That retweeting is part of getting your team on board. That your team is repurposing your stuff because it's part of the policy of the company. We've got that as part of your condition of employment is you're going to do a few things. Might even need to get out on Twitter individually. but it follows up with the others, Facebook and G+. Okay, Google Plus and Facebook both have headers, they have networks, they have content, they have text, the visuals part, all of that applies to all of these platforms. But finally, though, there's a little piece, finally. YouTube's different. It is. It's a repository of your videos so that you can put your videos there, and they'll appear on LinkedIn, they'll appear on Facebook, in blogs. Wherever you go, they get housed, like the data warehouse is on YouTube. You might have them elsewhere as well, but YouTube is a place where they need to sit because you've got special code to copy and paste and embed and link, and it's really based on the YouTube site itself, not on something just as good as YouTube. Companies need to have a channel. It's not a page, it's not a profile, it's called a channel, and it looks like a website. And it's got headers and all kinds of stuff. You can drip things, subscribers. A company has a channel, and you want people to subscribe to it. And when videos are put out in YouTube, they're put in something called a playlist, kind of like your iTunes playlist. A playlist might look like a record, might look like a CD or a DVD. It's got, maybe 10 things on it, and you can go to the next one, replay. Playlists are where you organize your content out there, because your content out on YouTube is highly integrated, highly organized, and highly optimized for search. Amazing things that YouTube does with search. They can take pictures and find and match pictures out there. Imagine where that's going now. It comes down to this. With the content world, you want to attract people, okay? And the Honeypot principle works. I'm just oozing with stuff that you just can't wait to get. Come to my Honeypot and grab my honey, okay? Come over here. I got great stuff for you. Guess what? I got 10 tips here, and then there's a video over here. And, this is one of two of two. See? Those pieces of content marketing that go out there are done centrally, leveraging our resources, and then we're putting them out on the platforms in a content calendar process. We manage what goes out where and how and who's going to do it. Specifically, where does the responsibility on Tuesday at 10 go to go do this thing? To go put this here, post that, and make sure these things happen. You can't automate it all, nor do you want to. Content is king, but content is also something that's fraught with all kinds of little nuances, and we're not going to cover those here. We're covering the overall platform on how to do social media around LinkedIn, particularly focus on visuals in this environment. So our key takeaways, you want to get your team together, okay? And by equip your team, I mean they have got what? What do they got? They got money, they got time. We've got someone in charge. We've looked and found out where we are in social media, what we've got out there. We found those accounts we didn't know we had. We also, we found the password to log in. We got our credentials together. That's a big part of the inventory. You're going to go to places where you go, wow, how do we get in there? Who did that? They're not with us anymore. Anyone got the password? Who's got the account? So once again, start with LinkedIn. Add the others. Do it in about this order. Focus on these pieces. Start with text. Move into visuals next. Build it. Build your text and visuals. Next, get into network acceleration point. Start inviting and attracting people, getting real connections, not just, twos in the LinkedIn world, but ones, followers to your page. People that you can drip to, okay? And we're dripping content that's of significant interest specifically to them. Not generic stuff. People really don't read generic stuff very often anymore. Some folks I just can't get enough of that generic stuff. But that's not many. Most folks are looking for things that are highly targeted to them. You might have campaigns that have 3 aspects to it. This one for this group, this one for this one, this one for this group. Same campaign, just a slightly different message, slightly different content. But we can help by providing consulting and coaching if you like this kind of stuff, if you think we've got the energy, if you think we know our stuff, if you think we can help you. We'd sure like to. The corporate training that we do can be remote, or we can come to your location and actually provide workshops. Half a day workshop is typically ideal. If we can do a full day workshop, 6 hours or so, your team will walk out of there cranking. Otherwise, we do webinars, and maybe in a webinar series, three webinars is our ideal series to learn LinkedIn. We can write company pages, write profiles for you. You can optimize all the SEO pieces that we kind of had talked about earlier. We've got that all nailed down, and ultimately, maybe I can come speak at your event, speak at your company. So I got something for you. We have a free training program. It's got 20 or so lessons here at rocklinkedin.com. How to build your profile, how to build your network, how to search and engage people. We've even got basic sales functions out there like hunting and farming covered in the program. So go to rocklinkedin.com. You got to register out there because it's a real learning system. And then let me know how it works out for you. I'd love to hear your comments about rocklinkedin.com. So at the show, at the AA-ISP show, we did profile scoring. These are individuals who came to our booth, to the Connect and Sell booth at AA-ISP. They were gutsy. They wanted to know where they stood. And, the scores of people that came by ranged from between 10, who's not shown here, not 10, not shown here, and 85. And one of these folks was a winner. Who do you think it was? I'm not going to tell you. We'll announce it. Who do you think it was? Who do you think knows the most about LinkedIn and profiles and making their image stand out? I think you're going to guess it. Number 1 and 2 are showing pretty prominently here. I want to hear your guess on who won, because we gave a book to each one of them so they could all improve their profiles and get back to us when they're done so I can show them the progress they've made. I can pat them on the back and maybe give them one more idea on how to improve their profile and get more customers. Well, that's me. I want to say thanks. This simple program here was designed to be kind of high level with a little bit of drill down, a little bit of showing you where the cut lines are, for example. A few little pieces you could really work with. But a strategy is something that really revolves around having a conversation. It's different for everyone. We have paved the road a bit, but the road has a lot of curves in it, and no road's the same. So reach out to me if you think you can help. We can help each other. I'd love to hear about your business and what you got going on, and maybe I can provide some advice or provide some services to you. Thanks so much.